recording. So for those that are unable to attend or need to leave early, this webinar will be recorded and sent out probably early next week for your viewing. So with that, I'm sharing my screen and we'll go ahead and get started. So thank you again, everyone, for joining this webinar on data integration, all your marketing data into Google Analytics. The presenters today are myself, Amin Shaki. I'm the Managing Director of MENA here for InfoTrust, as well as we have dialing in from the US, Michael Lobin, the Chief Marketing Officer with InfoTrust as well. If you have any questions during this webinar, feel free to post in the chat pane where there's some helpful links, as well as in the questions panel, or feel free to email Michael or I after this webinar. As shown on the screen, our emails are there for you, as well as feel free to check out some of the handouts that we have in the GoToWebinar panel itself. If at any time this screen is not showing or there's any audio issues, feel free to post in the chat panel and the questions panel, and we'll try to resolve that as we go. All right, so InfoTrust, just a quick background about who we are. We're Google Analytics certified partners both in the United States and here in Dubai in the MENA region. We're Google Analytics Premium authorized resellers, Google partners, Google Tag Manager specialists, and we support and analyze over 2,500 sites annually with some of our global customers. And we do marketing training programs like this and free webinars regularly, so feel free to check out our website for more upcoming events. We also are a Salesforce registered partner and work a lot with data integration and pulling in different systems together with Google Analytics to provide deeper insights. So the agenda for today that we're going to go through, we're going to talk about customer centricity and how you should be thinking about setting up your data and measurement strategy. Then we're going to go through some examples of actually integrating your marketing data sets together and some insights that can come out of that. And then we'll close at the end of this webinar with implementation and getting started, the specific steps that you can take right now or right after this webinar to get things started. So hopefully there's some takeaways here and some actionability as well. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and pass the presenter rights over to Michael. And hopefully you'll be able to see Michael's screen here in a moment. Michael, can you go ahead and take over?
Absolutely. Amin, can you see my screen?
We can.
Okay, wonderful. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the webinar. Amin, thank you for the great introduction. So let's talk actually about data integration and talk about customer centricity. And I think the key question is, why bother, right? To those of us who have access to Google Analytics, we have access to Omniture or another marketing analytical platform, the question is, we already have access to so much data that we often do not know how to use it. So what is the point of getting access to even more data and then spending potentially a lot of money, a lot of resources on integrating different platforms together? It all sounds nice, but how can that information actually help us, right? And so whatever I'm going to show you today, any examples that Amin and I are going to show, what we highly suggest is looking at that information with a very simple question in mind. If I can add a certain piece of data or a data set to my dashboard, to my analytical platform, how is this going to enhance, one, my ability to communicate with my audience, and two, analyze what is taking place online and how I am engaging with my audience. Because if all of this comprehensive data integration can help you get better at marketing, can help you get better at analytics and at driving insights, then you are not really doing data integration. You are integrating for the sake of integrating, but you are not going to improve your marketing ROI. So let's take a look at what does actually a successful platform look like. So in any organization, we tend to think about digital marketing or overall marketing across three silos. And the reason I say siloed is because more and more we work with organizations of various sizes, from very large global enterprises to small, medium-sized companies, we start to notice that their data is divided across three separate almost ecosystems. So on the left, we have our cross-channel digital marketing. We have a combination of different marketing channels that is driving traffic to the website. And so perhaps you're doing some pay-per-click marketing, you might be doing some email marketing, maybe you're advertising on YouTube and other marketing channels. And we have very often reports and dashboards about how each of those marketing channels is performing. Then in the middle, we have our analytical platform, and this is where we have somewhat of a central view of our audience. So people who come to the website from those marketing channels. And we tend to measure this using Google Analytics, Adobe Omniture, IBM Core Metrics, and maybe one or two other analytical platforms. And obviously, Google Analytics is usually the standard here. With Google Analytics example, we have also Google Tag Manager for managing all the tags, and we have BigQuery for big data integration. And then on the right side, we have it's often called user data sets or our owned analytical assets. And we can have our CRM data, we can have our loyalty program, or even our SQL database with information about our customers. Or quite often it is simply a CSV file or an Excel sheet that lists who our customers are and how much money they spend. Right. So certainly I cannot ask you to raise your hand and answer if you have something that's within your organization. Will probably work in a webinar setting, but most likely this is what each organization has to a certain extent. And so the question that data integration is supposed to answer is how do we bridge the gap between each of these silos? So let me suggest the following. Right? We have marketing performance. So we have different marketing channels across devices, and they bring traffic to the website. They bring information, if you will, into our Google Analytics. Then we take that information out from Google Analytics and we store it inside our CRM, inside our own data platforms. But the key question here is not how the data flows from left side to the right. That's somewhat straightforward, right? Traffic comes to the website. On our website, we capture information about our audience, and then we take information from our web analytic platform into CRM, right? So that's the flow from left to right. The question becomes, how does the data flow from right to left? How do we take information that lives inside our CRM, right, where hypothetically speaking, we know who our most profitable customers are, where we have information about LTVs, and how do we take that information and leverage that when we start building our marketing acquisition strategy? And this is what we are going to discuss today. It's not just about how do we aggregate all the information together in one platform. And in this case, we are going to use Google Analytics simply because it's most adapted analytical platform, and also it has a very powerful free version. But we're also going to talk about how you can leverage this type of integration to become better at marketing. So let's understand the end goal before we start looking at examples. As we discussed, number one is we want to combine customer data in one platform. So then we can leverage that information to decide how can we do email better, or how can we do pay-per-click marketing based on how people respond to our email campaigns. Number two is we need to ensure that the data is accurate and accessible, right? And accessibility of information is very, very important. It's not just that we can access somewhere and pull a report. It means that the different platforms that we use can use this data to do better segmentation, to do better targeting. And then leveraging this 360-degree view of our customer to deploy marketing campaigns. So how can our text message campaign be better by being integrated with our email platform? Or if we know things like LTV about our audience and about our clients, how will that impact our marketing strategy? So let's take a look at a few integration examples. And again, Every time we look at the integration example, let's look at it through the scope of what does this help us accomplish. And at the end of the day, how does this combination of marketing and analytical platforms that we integrate in together, how does it help us generate actionable insights? So a couple of examples that we're going to look at. And some of them are probably simpler to deliver, to accomplish than others. Others are a little bit more complex. So first, we're going to talk about something as simple as adding a cost and spend data into a platform like Google Analytics. So you can see not just what marketing channels are driving traffic, but how much money you're spending across each marketing channel and the type of ROI you're generating for each marketing channel, all within one dashboard. Then we're going to talk about CRM and user data integration. We're going to touch on email integration, enhancing our remarketing capabilities, and one or two other custom integrations. So let's take a look at a very simple example of integration. If you're working with Google Analytics, you're probably very familiar with this type of report. We have different marketing channels. Each of those channels is generating sessions or generating people that are coming to our website. And looking at this information, we can know what marketing channel is most powerful at bringing traffic to the website. However, think about it. This story is a very fragmented story, right? This does not actually tell us what's taking place. And the story can be quite misleading. Because if I spend $1 million on Bing, most likely I will get it to become my #1 channel of acquisition. But that will come at an expense of me losing money, because most likely I will not be able to make that money back. So what we do here is we simply start bringing in cost data for every marketing channel. And again, just to clarify this, we are doing this right within Google Analytics. We are bringing in cost data from each marketing channel into GA. And look how more powerful this data set is now becoming. We are looking at every marketing channel, and we are not just looking at sessions, but we are looking at cost. So how much money we are spending on each marketing channel. But then, because we are also measuring revenue on our website and what each conversion is worth to us, we're able to measure click-through rate, cost per click, return per click, and return on advertising spend. And when we look at this information, this is telling us a very different story. If you look at our last column, return on advertising spend, guess what marketing channel has the highest return on advertising spend? That would be Facebook social. So Facebook is generating 248% return on advertising spend, while Google is only generating 121%. So this data set is immediately enhancing our ability to make marketing decisions. And the beauty of this, all of this can be available almost out of the box right within Google Analytics. So you do not have to leverage any third-party data visualization platforms to make the decision at what marketing channel is working better. Next, a couple of examples have to do with CRM integration. So how does CRM integration generally works? Well, someone comes to the website and they complete a purchase, or maybe they simply fill out the form on their website. And then after that, customer data and transaction history is being recorded inside CRM. So let's say I come to the website, I fill out a form on the website, and then my contact information is sent into CRM. But what happens then? My analytical platform rarely knows what's taking place within CRM. So we do not have this closed loop. So what we are proposing is what happens if we take data from our CRM and we put it into Google Analytics. So in this case, we are using a tool like Salesforce, and we have information about our accounts, about our prospects. We take the data and we upload it back into Google Analytics to get a much more granular view of who is our audience. So let's take a look at the example. Here we are taking from CRM potentially what department person works for. And after maybe talking to that prospect, so a prospect fills out the form on our website, our sales representative talks to them and finds out that that person works for sales department or for marketing department, or maybe they're C-suite. We put that information into Salesforce and then we upload it back into Google Analytics. And here, now we can do segmentation analysis based by department. So something that would not be available out of the box inside Google Analytics. And immediately this data set tells us a much more interesting story. Now we can start segmenting by different departments and seeing what types of departments engage with our website on what level. And we're also importing things like number of sales calls that were made, direct mailers that were sent, and estimated revenue. And all this information is coming from our CRM. And take a look at this example where we are looking at user IDs, right, or our users, and we are able to see their offline and online marketing activity. So from CRM, we are adding things such as if we had sales calls with those prospects, if we send them direct mails, the amount of offline revenue that we generated, total revenue, customer lifetime that comes from our CRM, and hence our ROI. Now, when we start looking at this data set, we immediately can identify, well, this is the type of audience, or these are the segments that are most profitable for our organization. This is who we need to go after. And here we can actually take a look at an example where we are looking at different marketing channels, so different campaigns, and we can see how those campaigns generate offline sales and online sales. So you can see affiliate equals offline, affiliation not offline, right? So we can immediately see what marketing channels are generating offline sales and what marketing channels are generating online sales. And here's an example of how powerful this information can be from one of our clients, where now 15% of offline conversions that they're tracking inside Google Analytics, they're able to attribute to pay-per-click. So think about the number. Out of in-store, for example, sales, or sales via call center, that you generally are not quite sure how you were able to get those leads, if you were able to say that 15% of those came from this digital marketing campaign. Again, 15% of maybe in-store sales that you have came from what marketing campaign? Now, this information starts to tell us a wonderful story of where we need to spend our digital dollars. But we should not end there. So here's an example of now taking this a step further, where someone fills out the form. That information is being recorded and passed through into the CRM. Then we take that information from CRM, we upload it into Google Analytics, and then using Google Analytics, we start building remarketing lists. And I assume everyone on this call is familiar with remarketing. If not, we'll just touch on that. So remarketing is the ability to market to people who already came to the website. But here we are not just remarketing to people that came to the website and looked at 2 or 3 pages on the website. We are remarketing to people who came to the website or to people who generated an offline sales. So imagine someone completes a purchase inside the store. That information is being passed through into Google Analytics, and people are being remarketed to based on their offline sales activity, or being able to remarket to people based on how they respond to your email. Right? So let's say someone gets an email from you and they open that email, but they do not click through to your website, and they're automatically being placed on the remarketing list based on their interaction with email. So your remarketing becomes that much more powerful. And before I show an example, I see that there are two questions. Will the slide deck be emailed after the presentation? Sure, we don't have any problems sharing the presentation. And is Oracle CRM on demand integration to Google Analytics supported? So, Henrik, the key question here is the word supported. The integration between Google Analytics and any CRM, if you will, is supported in a sense that you're basically taking the data from your CRM platform and you upload it into Google Analytics. Now, we use different methods and we have a couple of tools that we use to do just that, but we can take information from any type of CRM, whether it's Salesforce or Oracle or just Excel sheet, and upload it into Google Analytics. So I hope that answers your question. And now, going back to our example of doing remarketing right within Google Analytics. So here you can see right within GA, we're able to build a segment. And you can use very robust segmentation capabilities of Google to build a custom segment. And then, as you can see, you share that segment with your AdWords account. But the cool thing starts right here, where we can take and build custom segment based on our CRM data. And here an example is our audience is C-suite executives with total revenue of, let's say, $100. How do we know that those are C-suite executives? Well, we take that information from our CRM, because I know that if I'm, let's say, in the business of selling professional services, C-suite executives are buying differently than, let's say, marketing executives or just marketers or maybe just analysts. And so when I do my remarketing, it's very important for me to target people differently. I do not just want to target everyone who's been to the website, because if they hold the different jobs, if they work for different departments, they have different needs. And this integration with CRM allows me to use that data for better personalization and better targeting. And a couple of other examples of how powerful integration can be. So here's just an example of a project that we've done where the question was, well, how does our TV and media spend impact our revenue, online revenue, right? A question that many organizations are struggling to answer, TV to website sales. And so here what we've done, we uploaded commercial calendar of different TV or video commercials into Google Analytics, and you can see the impact of media spend on website visits. And this tells, again, a very powerful story. Yes, it's still correlation, but then we can start putting on top of it revenue and then start looking at attribution models and see how overall our media spend is impacting not just visits to the website, but is impacting the actual sales. Or here's another example, working with the media company, the question becomes, we know when people come to the website and the type of content that they read, and when people read content, they quite often click on the ads. And in the media business, ability to generate higher click-through rates for advertisements is what's driving revenue. And so here what we decided to look at is how do weather conditions impact what people read, what people read on the website. So again, why is this important? Well, because maybe during different weather conditions, we need to feature different type of content on the website. But in order to answer that question, we need to have this type of data set all in one manageable report that is easy to analyze. So here's just an example of how we add weather conditions into Google Analytics, and we can see the impact of weather on traffic to the website, and then we can dive even deeper and see impact of weather conditions on what people read on the website. And we've done it also with traffic patterns and other third-party data. But important thing to keep in mind here, we don't, again, do integrations just for the sake of integration. There are very specific business questions that we are trying to answer. And by integrating the data from different data sources, we are answering that business question. Is there a correlation? Is there an impact? And if not, maybe there is even no need to integrate that third-party data. Now, is this easy? Well, of course not. Third-party data integration or overall data integration is not something that is easy to accomplish. That's why it has to be done very carefully, and the business has to really decide why we are doing this. And very often, analysts are being sent on a chase, if you will. Let's see how different things are impacting our traffic. That's almost the wrong question to ask. Because as we can see, data integration can be very expensive and can take a bit of time. And if there is no business reason that is driving it, then very rarely it will produce comprehensive business results. And as you can see here, integration with current legacy systems remains the biggest challenge when expanding an e-commerce business. And e-consultancy has done this type of report. And as we are summarizing, there are a couple of things to consider here. When we are looking at or discussing integration, we have to keep in mind one, consumer touch points, right? What are the different avenues that people are interacting with us and with our brand? And what are some of those things that are maybe impacting how they're interacting? Then, how are they collecting data? So where is the profile information? Maybe where is the purchasing behavior, site behavior, demographics information? Where are those types of data sets? Where do they live? How can we use an 80-20 rule? What are the maybe 2 or 3 platforms that are easier to integrate together so we can at least start showing within the organization the value of this type of work? Then the question becomes where do we store this information? And by storage, I do not just mean storing it, I mean making it available for insights. And then when we have that information available, then we start either answering the question, well, how do we analyze this now comprehensive data set, or how do we plan to optimize it? How do we begin to integrate other data sources? And here's just one of the examples of how powerful this type of integration can be. Here's a case study that Google wrote about workless Hovens auctions, one of the auction houses in the United States, and they do online auction house as well as offline. And we've integrated Google Analytics with their bidding platform. And that gave them a new level of insights in terms of what marketing channels are not just generating traffic to their auction website, but bringing the highest bidders. And using that information, within 60 days, they reported 160% increase in the overall site conversions. So think about this. Integration project helped them increase their conversions by 160%. This is what data analytics project or data integration project should always strive to accomplish. It's not about having more data, it's having the data that can actually help you drive insights, help you improve your bidding activity, marketing activity, or remarketing activity. And now let me pass this back to Amin, where he will actually show an example of how we are tackling some of these integrations and what does this actually look like if you want to get started.
Thank you, Michael. Hopefully everyone can see my screen. I'm just going to skip down to the implementation slide here. Michael, can you see my screen shared now on the implementation slide?
Yes, I can.
Great. So before I dive into this section, I just wanted to answer one additional question that came in, which is actually perfect timing. The question is, please, would you mind sharing your expertise? What is the best tool to integrate data into Google Analytics? To answer that shortly, it kind of depends on what type of data you want to integrate. As Michael explained before, it all comes down to, instead of just integrating for the sake of integrating, really thinking what data will be valuable for my business, for my organization, or for my role to get those additional insights. We do have a tool that we built and suggest. We're very biased towards it, but that's a part of this section here, implementation. I'm going to talk about key things to think about specifically when you're trying to put data into Google Analytics. And then I'm actually going to do a demo and share my screen, or go into Google Analytics and a tool that we use that we actually built for some quick integrations as well. So hopefully after this section, that your question will be answered a little bit more with a how-to. So with that, I'm going to go into the implementation. So as Michael described earlier, there are different types of data integration with Google Analytics. We wanted to list a few of them here as you begin thinking what data belongs in GA beyond just my web or app data that's collected by GA. Here are some of the options that we've dealt with before in the past. Cost data, Michael touched on that and showed some examples. Bringing in that advertising spend and pre-session metrics to align with your session or web activity and get some insights that way. And that's going to be the demo that I'll be showing here in a few minutes, is how we have helped all of our advertising clients or anybody spending on non-Google owned channels bring those other channels information and data and metrics back into GA. But beyond that, there's also campaign data. So if you're using a different campaign tracker or a different analytics platform and you're hoping to move to Google Analytics, you may have run into the issue where you have certain campaign codes that you're actively using with other technologies, but you want to map that to Google Analytics data and dimensions. So there's a way where you can import specific additional campaign parameters or campaign dimensions directly into Google Analytics instead of modifying how your campaigns are tagged or tracked offsite, since that might be a huge undertaking if you're running on multiple different systems and platforms and your team's already used to tracking their marketing campaigns a certain way. You can actually just map that directly into Google Analytics by uploading additional campaign data. There's other information that you can also bring into Google Analytics listed below. Geodata, if you have your own method of grouping different regions and sectors, and you want to bring that data into GA instead of using Google's automatic geographical segmentation, you can do that. Content data, which is very powerful, especially for media companies or any content producing companies. If you're writing a lot of content and you have additional metadata that's not tracked automatically on your website or app, you can also bring that into Google Analytics and link it to the different pages or screens or content that's tracked in GA to get a little bit more granularity or context around what type of content is most effective in driving conversion or engagement, etc. And then, of course, product data. If you're an e-commerce business or you have products listed on your site, you probably have several product attributes in addition to the standard dimensions that are available in GA, like brand, category, SKU. You might want to include other information about your products, such as the size, the color, the style, if you're a fashion brand, or just different configuration options. Really, with the data integration capabilities in Google Analytics, you can bring in any additional information around your products just by importing it directly in. And I'll show you how that works. Now, the key here with this data integration process, particularly when you're looking at Google Analytics as a platform to bring all these different systems together, the way it works is that you do need a connecting key or an attribute already tracked in Google Analytics to assign additional parameters to it. Some of these might already be tracked automatically. For example, a session ID. Google Analytics automatically tracks a session ID, or what they call a client ID, around user sessions on their apps or websites. And you can bring in, if you're capturing that session ID in your external systems via form completion, you can bring in additional data from those systems back into Google Analytics as well. There's other things that you might have or might want to consider tracking on your site or app, such as a customer ID or your product IDs or SKUs, so that you can link up the additional information from your other systems back into GA. So once you get customer IDs or user ID tracked in Google Analytics such as a custom dimension, you can then go to your CRM or user database and bring in that additional information, such as gender or age, and link it back to that ID. Without tracking that specific ID or key in Google Analytics, you won't be able to connect your external systems into GA. So really, integration, data import, it all comes back to how can you tie that information together with some sort of connecting key. So what we're going to talk about in the demo a little bit further is going a little bit deeper into bringing in source data, specifically cost, spend, or pre-session data tied to different sources or different advertising channels that you might be engaging with that are not owned and automatically integrated through Google, such as Google AdWords, but other systems that you might be leveraging as well. Now, to answer the question that came in and to talk about how this works, we actually built a tool called Analyzely, which leverages the Google Analytics data import capabilities and essentially can automate the process for bringing in any type of external data. The most common use case that we've worked on is bringing in that cost or spend data to get that return on advertising spend and additional metrics unlocked in GA. But really, you can leverage any type of data imports needs that you have, and Analyzely helps automate the process. So what I'm going to show in the demo is how Google has set up the data import capability for anybody to log into GA and bring in that data manually. We took that a step further to try and automate and simplify the process by also automatically connecting to common channels or common data sources. So with Analyzely, we have automatic connections with Bing or Facebook. I think Facebook is one of the most popular channels out here besides Google AdWords, in MENA, that is. So we have an automatic connection with Facebook to essentially log in to Facebook via Analyzely and automatically connect your channels together. And that's the example that I'm going to go through here in the demo now. Michael and anyone else, please let me know if my screen gets stuck or if there's any technical issues. I'll be monitoring the questions in the chat pane during this demo as well.
Looks good, Amin.
Okay, thank you so much. So to start, and the example that I'm going to be showing here on my screen is just from an internal Google Analytics account that we have for a conference that we ran in the States a few weeks back, Analytics That Excite. So we ran some advertising and some marketing on different channels beyond just Google. For example, we ran some campaigns on Facebook, just small campaign to get a little bit more awareness. So the first step in thinking about data integration that we did was, okay, we're running a lot of campaigns, or we have data in Facebook, and we want to bring that into GA so that we not only see sessions, which is automatically tracked since we're tagging these campaigns with UTM parameters, but also how much did we invest in Facebook, and based on how much we invested, what was the engagement or purchase activity around this Facebook advertisement. So the first step is always going into Google Analytics and making sure you have that data tracked, or that connecting key. In this case, we're going to use the source medium Facebook PPC as that connecting key. Now, if you are thinking about channels specifically and sources, and you don't see the source medium of a channel that you want to connect with, such as Criteo or Bing or whatever other channels, you might need to take a step back and review how you're actually tagging those campaigns with Google's UTM parameters to get people to the site and recognize that's coming from those different campaigns. We have some documentation about how to properly assign UTM Google Analytics parameters, but that is the first step, is ensuring that you have the data in GA as far as the connecting key, the first piece of information. So in this demo, we have Facebook PPC tracked as a source medium. So now we want to actually go into setting up the import, or getting Google Analytics ready to accept the data. So in this tab here, I show the admin panel where you can set up this data import configuration. So in the admin panel, when you go to the main settings here, under the property, this is where you will configure the data import. Under the property is where, really the Google Analytics property is where data flows into, off your site, off your mobile app. This is where all the data flows in, and that's where we have to link up the data import or additional data that we're going to be bringing into Google Analytics. So under the data import section, you'll see here we have a few examples of things that we put together. I'm going to go ahead and create a new data set for this demo. Keeping in mind Facebook PPC was the source medium that I already checked in Google Analytics as the connecting key and tracked currently. So now there's some options here on what I can actually set up. So for this particular demo, I'm going to look at cost data, since that was some paid advertising. Name it, so we'll just name it something, test demo. Then I select which views I actually want to link this to. So where do I want this cost data to show up? If you have some views that are internal only versus for external partners, you might not want to share all of your cost data with your external partners. So that's why this option is here, to limit which particular views and where the data should be present. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and link it up to all our views, or where all the reports live. And now I go into the data set schema, which essentially means how do you want to connect the data? How do you want to tie it together? With cost data, these are the keys that must be provided. So at a minimum in Google Analytics, you have to have source medium tracked first in order to bring in that additional cost, spend, impression, and click data tied to those non-Google owned channels. So source medium are the connecting keys here. They're automatic. Then you decide what type of information do we want to bring into Google Analytics. So from Facebook, I want to see the clicks on my ads, I want to see the cost of my ads or the spend, as well as the impressions. So these three metrics are only available in this particular example in Facebook. But with this data import, I'm going to bring it all into one place, into Google Analytics, so that I don't have to build a custom report or look in two places for this information. Now there's other things you can bring in as well, or not bring in, but tie these metrics to. Clicks, cost, impressions. You can go a step further beyond source medium. If you're tracking campaigns or keywords or other parameters from these other channels, you can connect the click, cost, impression data down at that level, as long as however it's set up in those external systems matches exactly how it shows up in the reports. For this example, we know Facebook PPC was the source and medium, so we're just going to connect the impressions, clicks, and cost at that level. So once you have that, then you can come down and decide if you want to add up all of the metrics together through summation, or if there's multiple rows, such as a duplicate date in the data that you're importing, you would actually just pick the last one and overwrite old data. In this case, we want to sum it all up, because with our automatic integration Analyzely, which I'll be going to here in a minute, we pull only the data at each day, so that throughout the whole month, you can aggregate and summate all of those days into the monthly total instead of overwriting day over day. So we recommend a summation. It's the default here. So if I click save, it'll create this data schema, and now I have it set up in Google Analytics ready to accept data. Now, you will need to make note of the schema, essentially how your file should be configured to pass into Google Analytics. With Analyzely, we build that file for you, but you can also manually import data into Google Analytics as long as it has this same header structure as a CSV file, or you can simply download the schema template and populate the data. So I'm going to open this up now and just show you briefly how this looks. If the CSV will open. But essentially, it's a file, resembles Excel, but it's a CSV that has these as the headers. And what you simply do is fill out the rest of the rows below it, or the cells, to include this specific data. So the date of the campaigns that you're running on Facebook, with the medium and source, which in our example is PPC for medium and Facebook for the source, and then the clicks, costs, and impressions for each specific date. So if I'm doing this for the past month, let's say that's 30 days, I would have 30 rows below this header column for each day, would be in its own row, with medium and source standard as PPC Facebook, since that's the same, and then the clicks, cost, impressions for each day listed as well. So I don't think my Excel is working to open up that file, but you can create your own data schema and check that out for yourself. Creating this data import in Google Analytics, this data set here, will not affect your data as is. Just by creating this setup here, you just tell Google Analytics to be ready to accept data. You're not actually setting up any of the integration yet. So this won't harm anything if you create an example or test data set. just to see how this looks and review that as well. So I'm going to leave this tab open because we'll come back to it here in a minute. What we do at this point, what's available in Google Analytics is that you can actually click Manage Uploads to manually import your file. So I mentioned that you can download the CSV file template, populate it. That's a basic CSV or Excel file. Save it and then bring it into your Google Analytics here. As long as it follows the same structure as your headers, then this is how you would do it. Now, this is a manual process, so you could do this on a daily basis, weekly basis, whatever you'd like for any channel or type of information you want to bring in, but it is manual. So if someone goes on vacation or someone forgets to do this import, you might have a gap in your data for this external information. So we wanted to tackle this issue of the manual dependence, if you will, and actually put together a tool that automates this process. And this is where Analyzely comes in. So we have Analyzely, analyze.ly. I encourage everyone to go there and sign up. There's a free trial that you can go in there and begin to play with setting this up. Essentially what Analyzely does, it connects what we just set up in Google Analytics, this data import capability, to your external channels. So instead of manually building this file that you have all this information by logging into Facebook and exporting that out or looking at what that report is and manually doing it, we can actually automatically log into Facebook via Analyzely and connect it all through here and then set it for a reoccurring job. So let's see how that works. So when you log into Analyzely, you'll see the three-step process. Data sources, so you have to identify where are you grabbing this data from? What are you trying to integrate? Then you say where you want to send it to in Google Analytics. So that Google data import section and that schema that we just created, that's what we identify here in step 2. So where's the data coming in? Where's it going out? And then you can set up the import job to actually import it once or set up that reoccurring job as well. So as you can see here from this example, we have a lot of examples because we've done this demo quite a few times here. But with Facebook, by simply clicking Add Account, you can log into your Facebook account and connect it to Analyzely so that any data that's in your Facebook ad account will be available for Analyzely to pull from and pass to Google Analytics. Now, a couple notes here, just to keep in mind as you're using Analyzely. When you sign up for Analyzely, make sure you sign up to Analyzely with the same account or email address that you have Google Analytics access to. Because when you sign up with Analyzely, you're essentially telling Analyzely, I want to connect all of my Google Analytics accounts tied to this email address to Analyzely. That's when you sign up. You'll see that request from Analyzely saying, would you like to connect your Google Analytics properties? So that's the first step. Make sure that you have the account that you have edit level access to Google Analytics here on the property level so that you can actually create this data import. You sign up with Analyzely with that same email. That'll connect the Google Analytics properties and schema and everything that you have set up here to Analyzely for that import. So once you have Analyzely created, then you can log into Facebook. And here's another pro tip. When you actually click Add Account, you want to make sure that you're not automatically logged into Facebook in your browser, or if you are, it's the account that you have the advertising channels or advertising campaigns set up on. Because when you click Add Account, Analyzely sees if you're already logged in and pulls down those Facebook accounts that you're already logged into with your permission so that it can be set up here in Analyzely to grab that information. So what we recommend is maybe opening up an incognito browser, creating an Analyzely account with an email address that you have edit level access at the property level to your Google Analytics properties. And then when you click Add Account, in this case to Facebook or other channels like Bing or Baidu, that you would log into the specific email address that you have access to the ad accounts in these different channels. So that's step 1, deciding where you want the data to come from. Now, with Analyzely, we have automatic integrations with Facebook, Bing, Baidu, where you just log in, but then you can also set up a custom data source, meaning if the channel is not one of those 3 that I mentioned, or it's just a different database, like a user database for CRM, or your content database, etc., you can actually create a new custom data source, which will accept data either emailed into Analyzely directly or FTP'd in. So if you have a database and an external system that's not one of the three that I mentioned before, Baidu, Bing, or Facebook, you can still bring in that data automatically with Analyzely by using a custom data source. For the purpose of this demo, I'm going to not talk about custom data sources, but I'm happy to go through post-webinar, so feel free to ping Michael or I if you want a specific demo on additional systems, such as Oracle CRM. You can actually use a custom data source and import process for that. So step 2.
I mean, and we do have a question.
Oh, sure. Okay, I see the question here. The question, is the connection done pre-post filters in GA, i.e. if we have a lowercase filter on UTM parameters? It's a great question. What we recommend is however the data shows up in Google Analytics, the actual view is how you want to import the data in. So you're importing the data at the property level, but how the data shows up in your report ultimately is how the metrics will be served as well. So however, in this case, Facebook PPC is all lowercase. That is how we would set up the import there. It's all lowercase for that. So hopefully that answers your question there. Case sensitivity is really important in multiple instances beyond just importing data. Just for consolidation purposes, if you have Facebook all lowercase for some links that you're tagging, but then Facebook capital or just FB, Google will split those up as separate source mediums and potentially separate channels as well. So keeping everything very standardized, hence the lowercase filter, is a good practice to follow. Okay. So step 2 is the Google accounts that you want to actually pass the data into. So in this example, this is where what we set up in Google Analytics already, this data schema, this is what we would set up and analyze it as part of step 2, is where we want to actually pass that data to. So I'll go through an example here. If I click Add Account, and it tells or asks which email account, this is actually going to say that this email account's already connected to this account. So I'll actually click into one of the examples here. Yep, this email has already been taken because it's already connected to this account here. So as an example, once you add your account, if this is the first time you're setting up Analyzely, it'll actually just load to this page and bring in your account here. You can click Add Schema. And from here, you'll choose which analytics account you want to connect to, which you probably only have one at the time. And from there, you can choose the Google Analytics property within that Google Analytics account you want to link to. So in our example, we just want to do our main property. That's where the analytics site view, I believe, exists. But again, just for this demo, I'm going to go through this. In this step, this is where you need to go back to Google Analytics to pull, well, not in this step here. This is actually where you just describe the schema. What we recommend is naming it the same way that you named it in Google Analytics. So in this case, Facebook Test Demo, just for consistency purposes. Label what type of data. So we're going to say this is cost. Then this says, make sure you go into Google Analytics and set up your data import. And then here is where you actually need to grab some of that information from your data import or data set that you created in GA to make sure that Analyzely pushes the data to the correct place. So that if you have multiple properties, multiple clients, or multiple accounts, Analyzely will only connect the specific data source to the specific account and import that you want. So back in GA, we would go to this data import section here, get the schema. These are the headers. So copy that in and make sure to put it here because it's already generated for me based off of what I selected. And then the schema ID, this is also in Google Analytics, right here, get custom data source ID. This is what you need to put in because this is the most important part for Analyzely to know where to send the specific data source data into GA. So with these headers, this is the data I'm sending in, and this is exactly where in GA I want to pass that to. I'm not going to click Save, but if you click Save here, that's where the Google account then would be set up. So you have step 1, where the data is coming from. Step 2, where it's going to already configured. The last step is just step 3, which I have here in this tab here, and that's actually setting up the import. You have where it's coming from, where it's going to. Let's actually process the import and get it on an automatic basis. So from here, once you click on step 3, you'll choose where are you sending the data, which is the schema that you just created in step 2, where you're pulling the data from. Again, the data source that you set up in step 1, you can say Facebook. In this case, pick the date ranges. You'll pick the Facebook account and ad account that you already set up in step 1. You're just identifying which one that is here. The campaigns that you want, there's a drop down, multiple checkboxes if you have tons of campaigns. If you want all of them, there's a select all button, or you can filter and search specifically here. And then the last step before you go to the data map is just identifying how your source medium is labeled. So by default, we have Facebook social, but if you remember from step 1, seeing how it's collected in GA, for us in this demo is Facebook PPC. Finally, if you're in MENA, you can do currency conversion depending on how your reporting is in Google Analytics versus how it's in Facebook. So if Facebook is in USD, but Google Analytics is in dirhams, you can actually switch that here to do the conversion right within Analyzely. And we look back one day for the currency conversion. Once you go to data map, this is where you actually pick how you want your data to flow from Facebook into Google Analytics. So I'm just going to create a new map here, name it new map. I want to actually save this. And you'll see this is the information that we can pull automatically from Facebook, since that's what we set as the data source. And here's what we identified in Google Analytics as the data we want to bring in. So simply we need to match this up. We have the date, we have date there, clicks, go with add clicks, and you can see there's a little widget here that you can move things around. Spent is the same as add cost, and then impressions to impressions. So you can see there's a lot of other information we are pulling from Facebook that we could implement to GA, but for this particular demo, I didn't want to include any of those. As soon as we click save and use this data map, the import job will begin, and you'll see there's some information here so you can view logs, see the imports, and then to make this reoccurring, the most powerful automation, all you do is simply click make reoccurring and set the time interval, time of day, and time zone. And then you have that cooking in the background. So we're about out of time. I kind of rushed that end there, but I want to make sure I'm respectful of everyone's time here. But essentially, that is the process here for Google Analytics data import, either manually or using Analyzely. I encourage everyone to sign up for Analyzely. We have a really great support team as well if you have any questions along the way. It's free trial for 14 days, so you can give it a go and see if you can get the data set up in GA and if it's valuable for you. And it, again, goes beyond just channel cost data to any type of information that you have living in external systems. You can bring into GA using this process. So to go back to the presentation, I just want to show and close with a use case or a case study that we recently published. It's in the GoToWebinar dropdown for handouts. You can print this out or check out the full case study that Google published. But essentially with one of our local clients here in MENA, Mum's World, we set up this process to get that additional information from their external channels, and we were able to use that data and improve marketing and advertising on various channels, as well as on-site engagement to increase e-commerce conversion rate, total purchases, and really get visibility into their top channels. And we saw a 300% return on advertising spend across all their top channels. So 300% return for the channels that they're investing in, which is really, really important for this e-commerce player. So I encourage everyone to check out this case study. Again, we're just a few minutes over, so with that, I'm going to pause, let any additional questions come in. But thank you so much, everyone, for joining, and please let me know if you have any additional thoughts or questions. Michael, will you stick around just a few minutes in case there's any last-minute questions as well?
Absolutely, I'm here.
Great. One other thing I guess I just want to mention is we have other upcoming events. So feel free to go to our website and check it out. Personally, I'm here in Dubai, so I'm happy to meet up in person or do a in-person live demo or walkthrough for your setup and configuration. So feel free to reach out to me, and we're available whenever. So if you guys have questions as you're setting this up, please reach out. So I think we'll stick around for about 2 or 3 more minutes before closing off the webinar, but I'm going to go ahead and pause the recording.